First of all, not many people know what Satori means. If you do a Google search, what will come up is sudden enlightenment. However, this isn't entirely accurate. The true translation is the Japanese one, in which case Satori means awakening. There is another term used called Kensho. Kensho and Satori are often used interchangeably, and there is something called Little Kensho and Great Kensho. Great Kensho basically meaning what Satori is. So just for the sake of this video, Kensho will mean a glimpse and Satori will mean enlightenment. To make things even more confusing, experiencing Kensho or Satori doesn't necessarily mean you are enlightened. In the same way that if you're at the golf course and you happen to have a fluke hole-in-one, that doesn't necessarily make you a pro golfer. I would say that after personally having Satori-like experiences myself, I'm not constantly in that state, and shit, I wouldn't want to be in that state all the time. It's exhausting. And second, what does Satori feel like? A lot of people don't really know. A lot of people think of an enlightened state and they have this image of this monk in the lotus position just like levitating. Without going too deep, Satori is experiencing everything as being perfect just the way it is. Satori is a state of egoless. You become one with everything around you, with the moment. You not only understand the meaning of life, but you experience it with every fiber of your being. It's like being shot in the face with an epiphany gun, where all of a sudden everybody's existence, including your own, makes undeniable, perfect sense. A Satori experience is undoubtedly profound and powerful. It will leave the person forever changed, unable to go back to their old way of thinking ever again. Although it has been said that when you find Satori, you realize that you do not want Satori. And this is something that I happen to agree with. Anyway, spiritual people often argue that Satori cannot be reached through psychedelics, that the only way to reach these states is through disciplined meditative practices. Satori reached through meditative practices takes decades of study. And at most people will only ever reach a Kensho state. They'll only catch a glimpse. Most people who meditate their entire lives never reach that full Satori awakening. Satori is reserved only for the most disciplined. Psychedelic enlightenment, on the other hand, can take place after just 1 in 10's psychedelic journey. But is it really that easy to catch enlightenment via psychedelics? Well, the short answer is no, it's actually not easy at all. I've tripped with people who have done more psychedelics than I have. Unbelievable, I know. And I've never seen them go any deeper than, Bro, look at those plants. They're moving. It's almost like they're alive or something. Yeah, they do look like they're moving, but, plants are alive. Now, in regards to enlightenment via practicing Zen Buddhism, this would usually come with the aid of cohens. A cohen is a paradoxical statement or question with the intent to tire the thinking mind. They are designed to help a student transcend their ego. An example of a famous kohen is 2 hands clap and there is a sound. What is the sound of 1 hand? It is asking, you know what duality is. Now tell me what is non-duality. Through meditating on various kohens, students of Zen Buddhism would eventually reach states of Kensho and then Satori. Meaning, if someone were to study kohens and take psychedelics, they would probably have a much better shot at reaching an enlightened state. This is kind of, in a way, what I did. The first time I reached a Satori state through the use of psychedelics, there was a lot of buildup that went into creating that moment. Granted, I didn't go into the trip thinking that I was going to reach Satori. I'm not even sure if I really knew what Satori meant at that point. My experience was very true to the statement, sudden awakening. It was a very explosive experience, very in your face. It was one of the most profound experiences that I've ever had in my entire life, still to this day. For the months leading up to that experience, I was really into Alan Watts material. Actually, Alan Watts aside, I was having these really absurd occurrences happening when I was at work. I'll explain to you. So I'd be sitting at my desk in front of my computer, and all of a sudden, I'd feel like I was getting what I can only call a download from the universe. I would just be frozen in my chair. I'd stop typing, stop whatever I was doing. And it was like I was communicating directly to my subconscious mind. And I would get these just random messages sent to me. A lot of the time, the messages were so profound that I'd have to write them down. I'd instantly grab a little sticky note and I'd write down what it was. I'd collect the note, put it in my pocket, think, okay, that was weird. Let's try to get back to being a productive member of society now and proofread these documents. And then, boom, I'd be hit with another shock of knowledge. And it was just like I was downloading this information from the universe. And actually, why don't I just show you guys how many notes that I've saved from this experience? These are from about, I don't know, 3 months of work. You can imagine how much actual work I was getting done at my desk if I was spending all of my time writing these notes. So these strange universal downloads were happening to me multiple times a day. In actuality, it wasn't until after this experience that I discovered Alan Watts. I can remember the first time I started listening to his lectures on YouTube. I thought, this dude, somehow from the 60s, has traveled to the future and stolen all of my ideas. He had stolen everything that I was figuring out on my own. Listening to him was like listening to myself. Granted, he explained everything in a much more eloquent way. I'm more just blunt and to the point. I need to work on my conversational skills a little bit if I want to match the caliber of Mr. Alan Watts. What I'm getting at is I had already thought up pretty much all the fundamentals of what he was teaching me. They had come to me in these weird universal downloads. What I later learned is that all of his philosophies and everything that he knew, he learned from Zen Buddhism, from the Tao Te Ching, from various Eastern philosophies. So ultimately, we were all picking up on the same river of knowledge. So the night of my first true Satori-like experience, I went into the experience with Alan Watts playing on my computer. I had taken a tab and a half of LSD, and his lecture worked the same way as a kohen would work for a student who was meditating. Pretty much everything he was saying was like different koans, and every time he would say it, it really resonated with me. Because again, it was like listening to a more intelligent version of myself talking to me. The point of all of this is I'm trying to illustrate for you guys just how much work went into my very first Satori-like state. It wasn't like I just took a tab and a half of acid and then boom, now I feel enlightened. No, there was a lot of lead up to it. It almost felt like it did feel like my entire life was leading up to that moment. I remember that point of Satori. I realized that absolutely everything, the good and the bad that had happened to me in my life, had to happen to bring me to that one point of experience. It was... words can't describe what it felt like. It was beautiful, life-changing. It was amazing. That being said, it is very possible, and it does happen, where people have a sporadic enlightenment after taking a psychedelic, with absolutely no lead up to it. However, it is extremely unlikely in these instances that the one who is obtaining this state will retain any knowledge from it. In most instances, what will happen is over the course of the next weeks or maybe months, they will gradually turn back into the same person that they were before the experience occurred. For this very reason, when Satori-like states are reached through discipline and meditation and not psychedelics, they are more likely to be retained, just for the sole reason that the individual had to put in so much more effort to get to that state. Things are often more appreciated when we had to put, effort in to get them. And that is why many people who practice meditation and who are following those disciplines look down on people who reach those states through psychedelics. Because when the state is just given to you, it doesn't have any weight to it. It doesn't hold as much value. It's not as appreciated, and it's not going to change your life in the same way. Not all the time, but in most instances, this rings true. Regardless, a lot of people who practice meditation will also just dismiss these states. A lot of them won't even acknowledge that they are true states of Kensho or Satori. And the reason why they're dismissive is actually because of their ego. You see, what kind of human that's devoted decades of their attention into meditating and into following these philosophies wants to accept that the exact same state can occur through eating some mushrooms that grow naturally in the ground with little to no effort? It's an insult to not only their meditative practices, but to their whole way of life. The funny part is, say these mushrooms, obviously there's many different psychedelics that can lead to the same state, there's many paths that lead to the same destination, but these psychedelics were given to us by nature. That same nature, this planet, which is ultimately our mother, which birthed us. One could argue that if these substances were given to us by nature, we were designed to consume them. I mean, why do psychedelics even exist in the first place? I can very clearly envision a world with no psychedelics. What baffles my mind the most about these experiences is the mere fact that they have the possibility of happening. Simply put, why are these experiences possible? When you can answer the question as to why they can happen, everything else becomes clear as crystal. This all being said, it should go without saying that if you do want to reach a Satori state through the use of psychedelics, the only way that that is going to be possible is if you, well, not only value the experience if it happens, but if you work on retaining what you have learned afterwards. The difference when people meditate and they reach these experiences is because it's something that they were, I can't say that they were after it because it's not the kind of thing that you can chase after. Oh, the whole thing is a paradox. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if you reach this experience through the use of psychedelics, you need to work on integrating what you've learned after. You have to put some serious effort into applying it to your everyday life. How one can do that, I will talk about in a later video. Hope all you guys watching enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel for weekly content. And yeah, give this video a like if you think it deserves that thumbs up. And as thanks to all of you guys who are going out of your way to pledge to me that these videos are even possible. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of support that I have. If you want to check out Patreon, go to patreon.com to do so. Till next time, take care everyone, and be safe. You know, I kind of know what you mean. They usually don't move unless the wind is blowing them, which it might be.